82% of team members feel misunderstood or undervalued. So this is exactly where I like to be, teaching, communicating, helping others, realizing their aspirations. I'm so excited about shattering the glittering image and uncovering the truth about you.
Welcome back to the Intrepid Impact Leadership Show. This is Jerry Howard, your host, your executive performance coach, your business consultant, and your certified jail inspector. You might be like, what in the world is a jail inspector? Well, we're going to get into that later. But today, I'm really excited because we have a guest on here who's an amazing individual in the community, not only with faith, but with leadership and business. And you know, here at Intrepid Impact Leadership, we sit at the intersection of faith, leadership, and business. And to us, that's as inseparable as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And our guest today is named Michael Harlow. He's the owner and founder of Endorphin Fitness. They train athletes for triathlons and all manner of endurance racing. But he's also founded a nonprofit called Live Red. And what they do is they take those same training techniques into lower socioeconomic communities and train them with the same intensity that they do their coaches and their clients. So I'm really excited today to introduce Michael Harlow from Endorphin Fitness. Michael, good to have you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Michael, I was reading through your bio, very impressive. So it sounded like you got started in 2004?
Started my business in December of 2004. We started operations in January of 2005.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So I had no idea you had that much longevity, but you know, we've known each other for a year now, and as I was reading it, it occurred to me how little I know about your business. So I'd love for you to just give us some background and give the viewers a little bit of a intro on not only Endorphin but also Live Red.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up playing a ton of sports. It was a big passion of mine. I also really enjoyed teaching kids sports. I got into triathlon at a young age of 10 years old when youth triathlon really wasn't a thing. So I was just trying to find my way in an adult triathlon world. And so I got out of school and had a passion for business. I graduated from business school at University of Richmond, had a passion for business, and wanted to combine my passion for teaching kids sports with my personal passion of triathlon, and started a very small youth triathlon team, a 6-member youth triathlon team back in January of 2005. And this quickly grew, and I started coaching adults, and the triathlon program started to build. Luckily, this was a time where USA Triathlon on a national scene really started to put an emphasis on youth triathlon. And for the next decade, youth was the fastest growing segment of triathlon in the United States. And now we have junior national championships and world championships. And I took a team to the Youth Olympic Games, and it was just, we've really seen this huge growth in youth triathlon across the country. Then in 2018, I became, I would say I became aware and unsettled at the fact that we were really having just this huge impact on kids. We were teaching them life skills. We were teaching them how to be successful at life. And at the same time, we only had a certain demographic kind of coming to our practices: kids that could afford it, kids that could pay for it, and as well as kids that could find transportation to it. And this wasn't okay with me. So I set out to change that because I really wanted our program to be available to all. And I started a 501c nonprofit called the Live Red Foundation. And what the Live Red Foundation does is we teach kids in Richmond's lowest opportunity neighborhoods life skills through a free fitness program. And then we fundraise for this program because all of our programs are free. We worked with around 6,000 participants the past 2 years each year. So that's a lot of resources. So we had to find a way to fundraise for that. So we put on a variety of youth and adult triathlons and running events throughout the Richmond area and some races outside of the Richmond area. And all of the proceeds from that go to providing these free programs. And so it kind of feeds itself in a lot of ways. So today I manage both of these organizations, the nonprofit Live Red Foundation and the for-profit Endorphin Fitness. Endorphin Fitness now has about 15 coaches, 4 different locations throughout Virginia, and so there's a lot going on around.
That's excellent, Michael. That's excellent. And you touched on this a little bit, but I'd love to know, and it's probably obvious, but I'm going to ask for the viewers as well. What are you most passionate about? You've got into fitness, but what's that one thing that just drives you every day?
Yeah, so the one piece that I left out of my story, which kind of is the best way to answer that, is I graduated from the University of Richmond. I immediately started a mentoring business. And essentially, I was walking alongside parents trying to support great kind of life skills that they were trying to instill in their kids, all the way from faith to just work ethic and different things like that with kids. And I was working with individuals and really going, I think I can have a bigger impact if this was more in a group setting. And that's really how Endorphin Fitness became born, because I created a group team environment where I could teach life skills through triathlon. So that was a long-winded way of telling you that what I'm most passionate about is teaching kids and even adults to really get the most out of life.
Yeah.
And there's a coaching element of that. But I just use triathlon's my vehicle to do that. Fitness is my vehicle to do that. But what I'm really about is getting that light bulb to go off and see them realize their potential.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. As you know, Intrepid Impact Leadership, we're all about coaching and helping others. So it's great to team up with people like Michael Harlow, who has that same passion, that same mission of basically letting people understand and get to the next level in their life, becoming that person that either, but depending on where your faith is, that you were created to be, or being the best version of yourself that you can be. And it sounds like Endorphin Fitness and Live Red Foundation does that very thing for all people. In fact, I personally do a lot of coaching and consulting pro bono in lower socioeconomic, actually the high schools. I really love the high schools, man. They love the leadership tools that we teach. And it sounds like, Michael, you have that same passion for the youth as well, because I feel like that's where the biggest opportunity lies, is with the youth.
You got it. Absolutely. They're just so moldable and are really they're just in a part of their life where you can really impact their life in a variety of different ways, and it's for years and years to come.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, a lot of the personality coaching that I do, we search for what we call nature. There's nature, nurture, and choice. They all drive leadership behaviors. But nature is the one that is most easily identifiable between the ages of 16 and 22. And so when you're working with youth, you're absolutely right, Michael. They're the most moldable and they're the most susceptible to both positive and negative influences. So, man, I champion the fact that y'all get out there with the youth, especially those that can't afford it, because at the end of the day, you just really never know where that next cure for cancer is going to come from, or that next breakthrough in not only medical science, but maybe it's faith, maybe it's fitness. It can come from anywhere. And if we leave out that entire sector of the population, gosh, we're marginalizing probably maybe 50% of the population. It's just uncanny, man. I really champion that. That's awesome. Another question I thought of too was, what's your biggest aha from working not only in fitness, but also with the youth as well?
Yeah, so I think it kind of comes back to what I was just talking about. It's like in 2018, it really hit me. Like we're doing a great job making kids faster, but the real takeaway, as we saw kids, like we watch kids by that point, we've seen kids graduate from our program and go on and have successful careers. Do well in college, get married. I had seen all of that by 2018. And it was like they were taking these skills that they had learned through pushing themselves and showing up in the rain to train in tough conditions. And they were taking that into the rest of their life. And that was the aha moment. It was like, man, we are giving so much more to these kids and our adults that we coach than just getting them faster. And beyond that, the second aha moment was, man, all kids need this. Like it can't just be reserved for kids who can afford it or kids who have this opportunity. We've got to take this to the rest of the world. And so that's how we ended up with Live Red Foundation.
That's excellent. Now, you mentioned faith a couple of times. How does faith play a role in your business and in your nonprofit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so my philosophy has always been to share faith in the ordinary. So to form. So I'm in a relationship business, right? So with coaching, I'm forming relationships with people. They're trusting me. They're depending on me, and they're getting to know me, and I'm getting to know them. And in that, they hopefully my desire is that they know what I stand on, what my foundation is, and it's given me numerous opportunities to speak about my faith, and I try my best to bring that into my writing, to my speaking, to my personal relationships with my athletes, my counseling my athletes in several really tough situations that I've had to walk with them through. Faith just comes out because it's what my relationship with God and Jesus is everything to me. So that's how it's come through.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I'm just going to repeat what you did. You said share faith in the ordinary. That is profound, because I think a lot of Christians, and even if Christianity is not your faith, sharing your faith can be a sticking point in the workplace or in the marketplace, as we like to say, but it doesn't have to be. And I love, Michael, what you said about sharing faith in the ordinary, because that's really what it comes down to. And to us here at Intrepid Impact Leadership, America's workplace is the largest mission field in the country. You know, people spend all their time at work and only a couple hours maximum at church per week. So if you think about that, the workplace is the place. And, you know, I'll bring up Acts, I think it's chapter 14, verse 13, says that the guys in the Sanhedrin, or the Jewish leaders, they were surprised at how powerful the disciples spoke, because they were just ordinary, uneducated men. And what they mean there isn't that they were uneducated, because actually most of them were business owners. It's that they weren't preachers. They weren't priests. And so just like Michael here, you don't have to be a pastor, you don't have to be a preacher to share your faith, or to be sharing faith in the ordinary, or to be available to that. So I'm really glad you said that, man. That's an excellent point.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
And
yeah, I just think that's how lives are changed. I think that's how people really get introduced to Christ, is through those ordinary relationships. So
that's right. In fact, I was on a podcast recently. It's Revealing Jesus with Christina Pereira. And that was one of the things. I didn't actually plan to say that. So, you know, we can give the Spirit the credit for it. But when I was talking, I said something similar, and it was that to share our faith, you need to make a friend. And Michael, you said that in detail a moment ago. You said, you know, you're building relationships, and through that relationship, you have the opportunity to influence others in a positive way. And it starts with making a friend, not running around, you know, evangelizing is one thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, people aren't going to trust you in your faith if they don't have a relationship with you already. So love that you're doing that intentionally. And my other question too was, with most athletes that you work with, whether it's with the nonprofit or whether in Endorphin Fitness, what's the most common challenge that you see that they have?
Well, that's tough, because I think there are so many different challenges. It depends on the individual. I mean, I work with kids who are trying to balance school and social opportunities with their training. I work with adults who are trying to balance, their priorities, their family, their work. And so I think I guess if I could sum it up, the biggest challenge is just fitting it in, and finding ways to prioritize fitness in their lives in a way that is meaningful and adds to their life and doesn't take away from their life. I think we see a lot of athletes, especially triathletes, type A triathletes, that are like all in or all out. And sometimes all in comes at the expense of more important things. Because I'll be the first to say triathlon, running, all of this is not the most important thing in life. So we always talk about training. Your sport should add to the other areas of your life. It should make you a better employee, a better boss, a better husband, a better father, a better daughter, a better son, a better student. And if it's not, you're doing something wrong. And so I think that's a big challenge for people. I think it's a big challenge to find that balance and pursue their athletic dreams while also having it give to the other areas of their life. And that's something that I certainly have tried my best to model in my own athletic pursuits as well.
Yeah, that's excellent. I know that's one of the things I struggle with is balancing it all, right? So we've got business, we've got family, we've got faith, we've got to have fitness in there. In fact, a number of years ago, I started saying that my priorities are faith, family, finances. And finance is really anything that has to do with the outside of your home, because you can't drive down the street without some kind of economic engine to pay for the golden gas nowadays. But I left out fitness. So I started thinking about where would that fit into that category, and it really has to be right after faith, because if you have rock solid abs like I do, then you might not have to worry about it as much. But no, seriously, fitness should probably come right after faith, because without being fit, without having some measure of health, you really do become a burden to your family, and ultimately could be an economic burden later in life. So I really champion the way you put that, is that this should add to the other parts of your life. That's excellent, man. And so we talked a little bit about family. I'd love to hear more about how you balance that, because our listeners or viewers probably don't know that you actually have 9 children. Is that correct?
Seven. Nine family members, 7.
9 family members. Thank you. Yeah, good deal. Well, 7 still, dude. That's so not common, right?
Yeah, we've got a crazy house, and that's a challenge, and I fail sometimes, and it's really providing the support to my wife who's homeschooling all of my children, and helping out in that, and making sure that I don't get so focused on my goals that I don't stop and kind of look around, which I make mistakes with sometimes because I'm very driven. And so I've tried over my life to make sure that I remind myself that my schedule is God's, and that I need to always have that perspective. So, and that if my schedule for the day gets interrupted, there's a purpose to that. If I get sidelined or I get sick, there's a purpose to that. I don't know how people get through life without that perspective of that relationship with God, and that He's got our schedule, and He has our good, our interests, our best interests in His heart. So that just really fuels me.
That's good. I like that you said that, because even just driving into work every day, whether you're in leadership or whether you're not, there are things that happen. And if you can take that perspective, like Michael was saying, that is preordained, that, in our faith, God preordained our lives and counted every hair on our heads before the foundation of the world. So we were known to Him in our entire trajectory of life before everything began. So if you can keep that perspective, like Michael was saying, then these things that happen, these unplanned events, get you off track. You can at least find some comfort to know that there is a what we call Heavenly Father that's got your best interest in mind, looking after you. And I love that you brought that up, because that ties in not only your family and your faith. And I am curious too, like, what does a normal day look like in the Harlow household, man? Is there a normal day?
It's hard to put into place. So Here's a normal day. I mean, I usually get up somewhere between 4 and 5, and I get out my chunk of my things that have to get done that day, like checking in on all my athletes' workouts, clearing my inbox, and usually getting my workout in. And I try to get all that done before the kids wake up between 7:30 and 8, depending on the day. And then the next hour and a half, 2 hours, I work with one of our sons. And Stephanie kind of works with the rest. The one kind of works alongside me a little bit. I'll do a little bit of work while I'm teaching him. And so that's the next part while all craziness is going on downstairs. And then I kind of go into some work time versus breaking for short family time, things like that. I try to work from home most days. So I try to be around to kind of help and best I can while getting my work done. But there are a couple of days that I go into our facility as well. And then we have practices in the evening. So I'm coaching in the evenings, and then it's dinner and some time with my wife, and repeat.
Yeah, rinse and repeat. That's good. That's good. And I totally get that, man. The early morning, there's probably tons of books written on it. I'm sure you've heard it about getting up early and that sort of thing. The one thing I've found that the early morning offers, that, especially in my house, and it sounds like yours too, it offers quiet.
Yeah.
It's quiet, and it's not quiet at any other time in my house. My wife works from home. She's employed, but she has a remote office. So even when she's there doing her job, it's still, I wouldn't call it noise. It's still just a lot of communication going on. So that early morning time is a. Now, do you see that as a trend among your athletes, that getting up early and getting those things started early is a thing that's a positive, or what do you see happening there?
I don't think it's a negative to anyone that does it. Those that it doesn't work for, they just find other times to kind of prioritize it. But what I encourage them to do is, regardless of when you want to work out, when you want to get your stuff in, like, make an appointment for it. Set it like you've got a meeting with someone. Hey, I'm going to go to the pool at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays. Like, it's always 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, or I'm going to put my shoes on and go on a run at this time. You've just got to schedule it out, and you've got to keep it like you've got an appointment with someone else. For me, there are days when I don't want to get out the door to get my training in. But I know that, hey, my family needs me at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So this is my chance, or I lose it. So there's not a lot of like sitting around and wondering whether I should, or it's just like, okay, I'm going. And I figured out along the way.
Yeah.
So I think is really helpful to me.
It sounds like intentionality plays a huge role in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes that intentionality can get in my way, though, as my wife would tell me, because I've got it laid out. Nothing's going to stand in the way of that schedule, which sometimes the family needs me in different way than I planned, or a friend needs me, or something else. So that's something that I've always I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah, I struggle with that too. In fact, it's a healthy balance, not only with work and life and faith and fitness, but with your schedule too, because we just talked about how sometimes we hit those roadblocks that we didn't plan on. But at the same time, I always encourage my clients to deploy. It's called time blocking. I want to say I read it in a book. I believe it was the one thing, I believe, is where I read that. But that's the thing. So blocking off your time with the one thing, and you have to be intentional with that. If you want to get a thing done, just like Michael's saying, you have to block off that time for it to be done, because otherwise it probably won't. It'll fall to the wayside. And I find that a lot of business owners that want to take their companies to the next level, they've been kind of managing everything. We call it putting out fires. But when you take it to the next level, you're going to have to delegate that fire putting out and be more intentional about what you're actually getting involved in and scheduling. So sounds like time blocking is huge for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the morning's the only time I can really count on it. It's just time that it's uninterrupted.
That's good. Yeah. Well, shifting gears just a little bit, Michael, I'd love for the viewers to know what type of clients do you tend to work with, and who is your ideal client? Thinking more about Endorphin in this case.
Yeah, so our kind of ideal with Endorphin Fitness is we are either working with that anywhere from like 5 to 18-year-old
Mm.
runner or triathlete. We also work with cyclists and swimmers as well, but the majority of our athletes are runners or triathletes. And same thing with adults. We work with a lot of runners and triathletes of all age, really. The if we kind of had to look at where the majority, it's probably in that 40 to 50-year old. But we work with college students all the way to 70-year-olds. Big gamut of athletes kind of pursuing their goals.
Yeah, that's great. I've considered in the past. I've run a couple of half marathons. I've considered in the past doing like a mountain biking and a half marathon or something like that. I can't remember the exact term for it. You probably know actually.
Yeah, it's off-road triathlon or off-road duathlon, something like that.
Duathlon. That was the term. Yeah, believe it or not. So my viewers already know that I'm United States Marine. Believe it or not, I'm not that strong of a swimmer. So what I learned in the Marine Corps was over a long distance how to not drown. And so do you find people that struggle in one of the three areas that you can really get them into a competitive level?
Well, I would say there's two areas that we see the most kind of red flags come up or concerns as someone's coming. One is swimming. Swimming's the biggest for someone coming into triathlon. Swimming is the biggest concern and area we have to put a lot of emphasis to kind of get someone comfortable. And we've taught adults how to swim for the first time, and then eventually to do an Ironman. So we've seen that several times. The second would just be someone who would be like plagued with like running injuries, which can be a big obstacle to get over to kind of to really reach their goals with the sport. So we spend a lot of time looking at run form and making modifications to their training to make sure that they can run safely for a long period of time.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, I had no idea that was that you could get somebody from not swimming to, well, and maybe it's even easier because if you don't have any bad habits, then maybe it's easier to correct. I don't know.
Yeah. It's challenging. Someone comes not being able to swim at all as an adult. It's easier to learn as a kid, but we do it, and people go on to be really successful and really enjoy the sport. So
That's great. That's great. And I had this was kind of an afterthought on your type of client, but I was thinking about it. Do you guys do any kind of corporate level engagements where maybe a company's paying your company, Endorphin Fitness, to offer some kind of training program for the employees, or do you see any of that happening?
it's a great question, Jerry. It's something that I've always wanted to get into more of. We've done a little bit. We've worked with Bon Secours on a program and some other organizations. But I've always felt like it was something that was an opportunity to do. And so I would welcome the opportunity to work with more organizations, but haven't done it with too many.
That's good. That's good. Well, maybe Intrepid Impact Leadership can help with that because we have enterprise level systems that we can roll out through large organizations. So maybe there's some synergy there with our clients. That's cool.
Great.
So yeah, we're coming up towards the end here, man. But I just wondered two last questions. That is, what parting words do you have for the audience? What kind of nuggets of wisdom would you share?
Yeah, well, I was just doing another interview where I was asked just what I would attribute to my success, and despite all the mistakes as well, but
Sure.
my success, and really, I think it's just hard work and grit and the determination not to quit. I think it's key for any entrepreneur, any business leader. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to make decisions we wish we hadn't, but it's that grit and determination. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing through. And that served me well, because there were definitely times in Endorphin Fitness's history where it was challenging, and I didn't necessarily see a pathway at that time on how to continue to move forward, and we did, and luckily we found some success that we're really proud of. So
that's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah, and we're gonna in the show notes we're gonna post some of that success because I really enjoyed reading how many people you've helped, what kinds of ways you help them. It's vast, man. It's a very impressive impact that you've made in the local community. That's great.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So Michael, that's about all the time we have. I'd love for the viewers to know how they can find you or how they can find Live Red Foundation and Endorphin Fitness. What are the best ways to connect?
Yeah, pretty easy. I mean, we're on social media, but if you go to endorphinfitness.com, that would be that's our website for Endorphin Fitness, and then for Live Red Foundation, it's livered.org, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, Michael, pleasure having you here, man. Thanks so much for your time. And again, this has been another show, the Intrepid Impact Leadership channel here on YouTube and on our podcast if you're listening in. Thank you so much for watching. We're excited to share with you Michael Harlow from Endorphin Fitness and the Live Red Foundation. And I'm just going to repeat the quote that I really liked today, and that was, share your faith in the ordinary. Make a friend and share your faith in the ordinary. So if you're tuning in, look forward to catching you next week. And this has been another show of the Intrepid Impact Leadership Channel. Thank you so much.
82% of team members feel misunderstood or undervalued. So this is exactly where I like to be. Teaching, communicating, helping others, realizing their aspirations. I'm so excited about shattering the glittering image and uncovering the truth about you.